said so long, carry on, 'cause the devil wants to take me for a ride.
I just spilled my coffee all over myself. Give me 1 second.
Your screen isn't showing either, by the way.
I'm a little slow. I don't know what happened, but I got 2 hours of sleep last night. You ever have one of those nights where your body's just like you're not fucking sleeping?
Yeah, I sleep in 3-hour increments every night for like 4 days, and then I go into a coma for 12 hours on one night.
What? What are you, fucking Kramer? How is that?
I do feel and look like Kramer on occasion.
How is that possible? How do you do that?
I don't know. I don't know. It's probably the phone, and just, I don't know. I just sleep in little increments.
Do you feel like shit?
Sometimes. Now, I mean, I used to not before, but now that I'm 30 years old, I feel it now.
You still got some time, dude. But I didn't start feeling it till like 34.
Nah, I feel it on my 30th birthday. I started feeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's working hard your whole life. That's what it does. Not sleeping and working hard.
That's true.
Oh well, I'm recording. I might as well introduce you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Get Your Act Together with Mike Bain. I'm here with Danny Wahlberg, musician, talented fucking guy, beat master. I don't know how would you. How do I classify what you do? To be honest, I don't know.
Just a producer.
Producer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because normally I'm used to like film and comedy producers, which means they do nothing. You know, like you music producer, you're actually making beats. You're creating stuff.
Yeah.
In my world, a producer just fucking gets the people who do the work together.
Yeah. No, I mean, even in our world, there's a little bit of that too. Like, DJ Khaled, you know, he's considered a producer, but he really doesn't make the beats.
No. He
just uses, you know, his networking and puts people together on a song.
He just says "we the best" on the track, and that's
exactly. And
that's a great gimmick. Between him and Bruce Buffer being able to say, "Let's get ready to rumble," that's just like having a few words that you spring together and are trademarked for you is a great fucking gimmick.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I'm jealous of this background you have, dude. Look at I got cold ass New England right here.
I know. I actually I did it just to make you a little jealous.
Well, it's you know what, it's my wife is on my ass right now for coming down to Colombia, but I waited too long for plane tickets. So everything leading up to Christmas is fucking insane. So I'm not going to be able to probably go down till right before New Year's, in between Christmas and New Year's. And I want it. Like, I want it bad. So it's like my carrot on the stick of what's to come.
Yep. And I'm jealous of you because Colombia is where I want to retire.
You can go right now, man.
Nah, I'm gonna do my little. I got to grind right now. You know.
I'm just saying you can produce in Colombia if you can just, like, honestly. So where my girl lives, Medellin, it's just reggaeton, all fucking reggaeton, all the fucking time.
Yeah, and I would say next to Puerto Rico, like right behind Puerto Rico in the Latin music and reggaeton world, it's right there. Like, it's the second best. Puerto Rico is the hub, but Colombia is definitely like, it's popping for sure.
They get a unique style too. Like the Paisas of Medellin have a specific style, and the beats aren't too complex from what I've heard. So
the thing about reggaeton is it's like it's the same beat, it's the same rhythm, but I would say in the last 10 years, probably, it's like the melodic aspect of it. And like, cause it started as a very simple, like urban genre. And I'd say in the last 10 years, it's, now you got Bad Bunny, that's the biggest artist in the world
Mm.
off of that genre. But in terms of the rhythm, it is the same rhythm every time. Like it's the same. But that's what defines it,
Yeah. I mean, so I'm learning Latin music, and I'm blown away by how many different genres there are, especially when to me it sounds the same.
Yeah.
But granted, I imagine to somebody from, I don't know, Colombia, bluegrass and country don't sound too different, and blues and jazz don't sound too different.
Exactly. Once you get into a genre heavily, like you start to really understand it, then you can grasp the subgenres better,
I do like it though. Like there's something about when I walk into a, a store in Colombia and they have music playing, it's like and you just kind of want to like. I just find myself moving my shoulders as soon as I walk in. It's got a groove to it. It's very, hey, life's good. I'm just gonna chill. I'm gonna get some pussy. Everything's okay. Everything's nice.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, by the way, Mike, I don't know if you know, but I can't see you on the screen.
No?
Nah, I can't.
Hold on.
I don't know if you can fix it.
I can see me. Could you see me the first time around?
The first time I could, yeah.
Hmm.
I wonder why. Let me see.
Oh, is it just showing you?
It's showing me on the left side and showing your box, but it's just showing like a little circle, like with the name, like kind of like when you're not on FaceTime with someone, but you're on FaceTime with someone. And it shows like the little contact mark.
1 second. All right, turn my camera.
There it goes. There.
All right. So I might as well start farther back in your story. How did you, because I know you were making music in Florida, because you grew up in Florida, right? Your family just mostly from Boston?
Yeah. Well, I was born in Boston. I lived in Boston until I was 7 years old, and then I moved to South Florida. Yeah.
You want to know how this is like? I know this is a Boston podcast. You're the second Wahlberg I've had on this show.
Yeah, you did Brandon, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Second Wahlberg, second dude from Medjugorje. It's good. I get like a Boston faith pattern going. I like it. It's and you were making music in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Before I met you.
I started when I was 13 years old. Like
Damn.
I was playing football when I moved down here, fell in love with football, and then around 13 years old, I started messing around, like rapping and stuff, because my dad was managing this rap duo. They were two white rappers from Jersey and Queens, and they were called the Bleach Brothers. They were actually really good though. Like,
I actually like that name. That's like a good name.
They were good, and they really were Bleach Brothers. Like they were brothers, but they were bleached, and they were and they were they came up with like Terror Squad and Fat Joe, and then one of the members of that group gave me a program to make beats, and then from there I just kept making beats, and then by the age of 16, I sold my first beat in high school to just some kid who was signed to an independent label, and then from there it was like, that's what I want to do. And that's even when I was a kid. Like when I would get Christmas money, that's what I would spend my money on, was CDs.
Really?
Usually CDs and music.
I was always jealous of guys who figured out what they liked so early. It took me a while to get into comedy. Well, you know what? I guess in reality, I know plenty of dudes who don't realize what they're into till they're in their 50s, they're retired. I got mine in my early 20s. I just, that whole thing took a long time, ups and downs, as I'm sure you know. But how long were you making music for before you left for Europe, Medjugorje?
Oh, so yeah, I started making music, and then I got involved in the drugs. and that kind of took over more of the music.
Mhm.
And then I got arrested a bunch in high school, always for weed and stuff, nothing serious. And then the last time I got arrested was the 5th time I got arrested. I took some like in like 2011, 10. That time there was a lot of synthetic drugs going around.
Like
And I
that
took
fake weed, like K2 and that
not,
shit?
not the fake weed, but like the fake trippies, like the fake fake acid essentially.
I didn't
It was
know they
like,
had fake acid.
yeah, it's called 2CI, and there's like a whole series of them, 2CB, 2CE, all these.
Oh, the 2Cs. They get that shit in Medellin in Colombia,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, 2C is that the pink cocaine. This was like this weird time where like they were just making these concoctions or whatever, and I took 2CI, and I because I used to trip on acid and mushrooms all the time, and it was 420. And I told my friend, let's get some acid. And the guy who was selling me acid was like, I don't got any acid. I got this other stuff. It's called 2CI. And I was like, all right, well.
It's never, when you go to your dealer and you
Yeah.
say, hey, can I get whatever you're looking for? And he goes, I don't have it, but I got this. It's this other thing. That's
Yeah.
never a good time. That's never a good sign.
It was the worst time. And the whole night, so we took it, me and my best friend, Jordan, he's having a bad trip the whole night, and I'm trying to calm him down. And then all of a sudden we get back to his house, and then I just blacked out. I blacked out. I don't remember what I did. I wake up in the hospital, handcuffed to the bed. And I fought my best friend, ran outside. It was all at like 3 a.m, punched through windows of houses, cars. Like 10 cops came. And then he lived behind my parents, who my parents they kicked me out at that point. You know, they were done. They were done with my shit. And he lived behind my parents, and I jumped over the backyard fence into their pool. And that's where I ended up after breaking through the neighborhood. And the cops got me there, and they tased me in the face. They shot me in the face with the taser. And I was soaking wet because I jumped in the pool.
Oh, so super electrocution.
And I literally, the only thing I remember from the night is that I literally, like, I died. Like, not my whole life flashed before my eyes, but I guess it was my life, but I didn't see myself. Like, just like things that I liked, like my whole life just went in like a millisecond.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I just had this understanding that like God was giving me a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, don't mess up this time. You know?
Yeah. What you said you were getting, was it mostly hallucinogens for you? Were you into coke or painkillers?
No pills. I never, because you know my dad's sober too, and he always kind of even drinking. I've never like drinking as a younger. I never drank at all.
Really?
And he always put that. I was going to AA meetings with him when I was 2 years old. Like
really?
I've been going to AA my whole life before I had anything to do with anything. And
so you got to hear all those. You got to go to meetings and listen to old dudes tell wild stories.
I loved
as
it.
a kid.
I loved it. I literally loved it. Like, it was not boring at all. I loved it. I loved the fellowship. Like, everyone was so nice. Like, you get to hear crazy stories. You get to meet crazy characters. And no, it was nice. And you know, and that was my dad's probably his worst fear growing up. I mean, or raising me, that I got involved, because my mother also, her brother was a bad heroin addict too. He actually got deported back to Dominican Republic when he lived his whole life in Cambridge.
Damn.
And they deported him because he never became a citizen. So he got deported probably like 6 years ago back to DR. But my parents always, they just like, when it came to drugs, when they found out I was even just smoking weed, it was like bad. It was bad.
Really?
The first day my mom found out that I was smoking weed, I was already making beats, making money off the beats. And the kid that I sold the first beat to was signed to an independent label that was owned by a retired Pro Bowler, this guy that was in the NFL. And he was trying to sign Darrelle Revis, the cornerback. And Darrelle Revis came to my house because he liked my beats. He literally came to my house, like, just showed up with his little notebook, like composition book. My dad was like, what the heck? Like,
why is it an NFL player at my house?
Yeah, he was just like, what the heck? Like, and it was like the best day ever. Like, I thought. And then I'm in the studio with him because my dad had a little office in the garage that eventually I kind of turned it into a studio because he never really used it. we're in there. I'm playing them beats. We're hanging out, and I left my phone upstairs. And at that time, my mom was going through my phone, seeing all my text messages about smoking, and buying weed and all that. And my dad literally came into to the studio and he was like, "Tell everyone to get the fuck out of the house." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, what do you? I got Darrell Reeves in my house. He's like, "Everyone get the fuck out of my house." Darrell Reeves was like, "I'm out of here."
Your dad's kicking out NFL players over weed. That's it.
He trash talked him when he first got there. He was like, "Oh, I see you got your little rhyme book, huh? You trying to rap?" He's like, "You got your little rhyme book, huh?" And then he told him to get the fuck out of my house.
Why was he giving him shit before?
He was just giving him shit because I think at that time he was playing on the Jets, and I think we were gonna play. I think when we had Randy Moss, like on the Patriots, and like I think we were gonna play soon, like a couple weeks later. So my dad was just talking shit. But
that's a cool thing about a place like Florida and your music scene. I feel like it attracts a lot of different people, and people just show up and meet. Boston has a tendency to be very closed off, especially with certain types of music.
Oh yeah, it's crabs in a bucket city. Like
it is.
It's rough. It's rough, man. Like that place, you got to be, I don't know, to make it musically. I mean, there hasn't been a rapper, like a prominent rapper from Boston. I don't know. There's like, they got a couple, but they're not like top tier.
They're not on a national scale.
Exactly.
No. Even it's like so I took a break from stand up because after, not this past summer, but the one before, my father passed away from his alcoholism. Just finally just did himself in. He wanted to kill himself, just did it with booze. And then I just lost my creativity. It was just gone. And I couldn't, like that thing inside where I would go to pull out my creativity. Sometimes like it's like a well, and sometimes my well would run dry. Yep. I'd have writer's block. But this time I went to the well, there was no well. And I'm like, and I couldn't figure out where the well had gone. And it took me a long time to like get back to it. Like it's just only just recently, actually, when you reached out to me, it just kind of came back. You know,
I always wanted to tell you too, man. You know how people have like those secret fans and stuff? Like I'm a secret fan of you. Like I always.
Oh, thanks, dude.
I always watch. That's why I told you. I was like, keep doing the podcast, like, because I want to see you win. Like I've always, since I met you in the Union, like I just always wanted to see you win. Like I like your character, just the way you carry yourself, and I'm always watching what you're doing. I'm always watching.
Thank you. I realized that when I stopped doing stuff that people were like reaching out, being like, you know, people would tell my brother, "Hey, what's going on with Mike? I haven't seen his stuff." And I'd be like, you know, and then he couldn't, it was like, it's like when you got Coke dick or whiskey dick and you're beating the thing to get hard and it just won't. It's like, no, it's like, it's not, I'm just not, I couldn't, I was trying to fucking beat my creative meat and it was too floppy. It's just like, no. Finally, you know, with things going right with my woman and just getting enough time between what happened and being like, oh yeah, it's okay to be fucked up. Like I went through some really serious shit and it fucked me up and I just need some time. But when I, you know, came back to really work and make some money this summer with my, you know, my union job so that I could, you know, take care of things with my now wife and, you know, because citizenship ain't fucking cheap. I got a lot of bills to pay.
Yeah.
A lot of people, so many people were like, oh, so you just quit? What are you done now? And I'm like, no, I'm not done, dude. Like, but it wasn't like, hey, like in Boston's a place where I would always hear, hey, you still doing that comedy thing?
Yeah.
You still doing that thing, that joke thing? Oh, you mean the thing that is my life's passion? Am I you should be asking, am I still doing this stupid work thing? That's what you should be asking me.
That's money right there. That's a money quote right there. But it's true though. Like, but you know the best thing about the field that you're in, there's really no age limit on it.
No.
There's no, you could pop off in 10 years from now and it still will work, you know?
There's no age limit, and you can. I learned to conquer the fear of taking time away when I need to.
Yeah.
Which early on, everyone's like, "Don't take a break," and that is important when you first start out,
Yes.
when you first get your voice.
Yeah.
But it's certain, like, I'm at a point now, dude, where I can get back on stage after being off for a long period of time, and I still have it. It might be a little rusty, but my voice is there, my cadence, my comedy's still there. So and sometimes, like, Rodney Dangerfield, like, tried as a young man, became a fucking insurance. I think he was an insurance salesman for like 15 years, came back, and then hit it big. There's no,
you got no
there's
clock
no
on
limit.
that. Yep.
No,
you got
and I think it's like that for like a lot of life. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not too late to fix your shit up, as I like to say on this
I
show.
saw some Latin in the Latin Grammys, some singer won a Grammy, she was like new artist. I think she's 95 years old.
No shit, huh?
I don't know her name. I just saw like a post about it, and I was like, that's crazy.
If she's in Latin America, she's probably still banging too. Man.
They
MILF
still looks
status
great,
in
huh?
Colombia. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Like, you don't know how many times where I'm just like, dude, am I going to fuck this grandma? Before I was with my girl, but I'd be walking around Colombia and I'd be like, I just be in a cantina, getting some arepas. And I'm like, do I want to smash this abuela? This 65-year-old abuela? I fucking do. I damn well want to.
Yep.
So I'm sorry.
That's probably where I'll find my wife too. That's what I'm thinking.
Dude, you never know. Like, for me, I went through a period of really wanting a relationship and something of quality. And it was right after I had done my ayahuasca and I had my come to God moment, and I felt clear, and I went, you know what? It's okay to be alone. Fucking 2 days, 1 day, 2 days later, I met my now wife. Sometimes it's how God works, man. He's like, right when you get good with something, you're like, he's like, here you go. You're like, but why didn't you give it to me when I was asking for it? And he's like, that's not how it works. And I've realized that when I was younger and I wanted my success and fame so bad, is when I knew I wouldn't. Now I look back on it, I know I wouldn't get it because it dominated every aspect of my life. I wasn't living beyond that want. And now I'm just like, look, I want it, but I'm also like, it might not happen. And if it doesn't, I still got a good life and everything is going to work out great for me regardless. And what I did want, I don't fully want anymore anyway. Like, I just wanted fame and bitches. No, that's not. I just wanted fucking pussy and money. And now I just want a little bit of money. So I just want my bills paid. That's it. I just want my bills paid and to chill with my wife. And that's it.
Yeah. That's now. Yeah. In my life, that's all I want is peace. Really, that's all I want is my peace.
That's a good way of putting it. So back to your story. So you were doing pretty well with producing music when your drug problem kind of hit. Like,
I was, like, I mean, I was meeting people, I was networking, but I didn't have the work ethic. Like, I was just leaning on all my talent and not like grinding like you need to, like like thinking it was an easy job, just because I was good at it. I wasn't putting in the work. And then once the drugs came in, that's all I really started to care about more of that. And then when I got arrested that last time, like, I was facing 5 years because, like,
damn.
I forgot to tell you, before they tased me, I grabbed the cop's balls and I twisted his ball.
You gave him a good fucking ball twist.
I gave him an old twister, dude. Yeah, it was crazy. And
I've done that in a fight once before. I've bitten in fights. I've ball twisted. I've fucking gone. So sometimes you gotta.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I literally have
I've
zero
consciously done it.
I have zero recollection of it at all. Like, it's just when I woke up, the older cop, I guess he was more like a young, maybe rookie cop, the one who I grabbed his balls. He like made a remark like when I woke up in the hospital bed, he's like, "Oh, your boyfriend's awake, to the other cop. And I was like, what is he talking about? He's like, you grabbed him last night. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you twisted his balls.
Did they charge you for like assault on an officer?
They charged me battery on a law enforcement and battery on an EMT, because I guess I was fighting with the ambulance or whatever too.
Oh, damn, man. In Florida doesn't mess around.
Yeah, and then my mom found Community Cenacolo, the Catholic community that I ended up going to, and they let me go to that on probation for 2 years. And then I ended up staying 5 years because it was changing my life. And
you stayed for the full 5 too. I thought, I know Ed.
They really only ask you to stay for 3.
Yeah.
But I stayed for 5. Yeah, I was in Medjugorje, I was in Italy, and where else? In St. Augustine. Yeah.
How was that, and how much time did you spend in each location?
I spent 1 year in Florida. That's like in St. Augustine. I did 1 year there. Then they the way they do it too, they just kind of tell you tomorrow you're going to Italy. They don't even give you any heads up. So then I went to Italy for 1 year, and then I came back for a couple months during the holidays, and then they sent me to Medjugorje on my birthday. I flew to Medjugorje on my birthday, and then I stayed there for 2 years.
So I know what Community is, but some of my listeners do. But if people don't, could you just explain what Community Cenacolo is?
Community Cenacolo, the place I went to, instead of going to an institutional style rehab for the charges that I got, it's a community style. It's pretty much a monastic. Like, you live like a monk. It was started by a nun in Italy in the 80s, her name's Sister Elvira, and she started it there was like a bad heroin epidemic in her town in Torino in Italy in that time, and she was a very young nun, and she wanted to do something for all these kids on the street on dope, and she got a house donated to her, and then she didn't really know what she was doing, but she just kind of told them to do what she was doing, which was praying every day and working, and she kind of just gave them structure, and then little by little, more and more people started to show up to get help. And then it grew and it grew. And then she got more people to donate, more. She didn't get them to donate. They just did, because they saw that it was working, People were changing. People were finding God and being fulfilled with the peace. And then from there it expanded. And then there was 80 houses all over the world.
How shocking was it for you when you first got there? Because you don't have any contact with the outside world, right?
Yeah, it was, something, because of that experience, because that last trip, was so intense, and I knew that I died. In my head, I knew I died. I was 19 years old when I went into it. And yeah, like you said, there's no phones, no internet. You wake up at 6 a.m, you get right on your knees in the chapel, you pray a rosary, then you're off, you eat breakfast, you're off to work, you're working in carpentry, garden, taking care of animals. But that first year was actually really easy, because I was on that spiritual, high, from the bad trip. And I knew that I died. I knew I needed to change. Mm-hmm. It was after the first year that it got hard. Actually, I left at the first year, even though I was on probation. And the guy, the director of the program, decided not to call my PO. He's like, he'll be back. And I came back the same day.
Really?
Yeah.
So where did you escape to? Where did you run off to?
Because they don't really keep you there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you want to leave, you can leave, but you're on probation, and this is parting terms. You're going to go to prison. And they drop you off at a gas station. They make it a little difficult for you to leave. They drop you off at a random gas station when, you don't have a phone, and
figure it the fuck out.
Yeah. And, it was crazy because all these crazy, when I left, all the guys in the house started giving me rosaries and we'll pray for you. And I had a pocket full of rosaries and they gave me the number of the community just in case I got a phone and wanted to come back. And all these crazy things started to happen in that little couple hours that I was out. God just smacked me in the face. Nah, you got to go back. Mm-hmm. I was walking around. I walked to the Publix, to the grocery store, and I got my friend. I borrowed some lady's phone, called my friend. My friend sent me some money. I bought a little, trap phone from the Walgreens. And then I'm sitting there about to smoke a cigarette on the bench in front of the grocery store. And this young couple comes out and they're holding a little baby, and the baby's like decked out in Batman pajamas, right? Like from head to toe, he's got a little Batman action figure. And when I was a little kid, when I was a toddler, my parents used to, like, I was obsessed with Batman. So they would tell me, we're going to church. I didn't want to go to mass. They would be like, Batman's going to be there or whatever. Like Batman was everything for me when I was a little kid.
Batman's
going to be there. That's how they would get me to do anything.
He's taking communion.
Yeah. So I see that, and then it automatically like starts to hit me like, deep, and I'm looking at, and then I hear they literally say the kid's name, and his name's Daniel. And I was like, what the heck? And then I reach in my pocket to grab the phone, and all the rosaries fall out of my pocket into a perfect heart shape. And the number of the community falls right in the center. And I was like, all right, I'll go back. Because before leading up to me going into community, God was always giving me these signs. I don't know why God always made his communication with me very clear, like very, very clear. And every time I would ignore it, something really bad would happen, And then that moment, I finally just said, okay, I'm going to listen. And I went back, and then I did the rest of the time in the place.
That's awesome, dude. I'm a firm believer that we all get signs. We just are either at a certain point in our life where we're in no way in tuned enough to see it, or that sometimes when we do see it, we just ignore it. We blow right by it. Yep. And the more you ignore it, the more you fight it and deny it, the less you're going to see them. Yep. I've noticed that when I'm in a rut and I detach from, I don't know how I want to call it, from faith, from spirituality, from whatever is out there, when I pull away and it's severed and I'm just being materialistic and shit, I don't see it as much. And the second I start delving back in, I start noticing, and I go, oh yeah, this is not, there's something here if I'm willing to take it. There's a message. And whenever I follow it, shit works out. So
Yep. That is very true. Very, very true. Yeah, if you're not looking for it, you ain't gonna see it.
Why was your second year harder than the first?
Because that spiritual high just kind of went away, and it just set in that, like, what am I doing here? I'm 20 years old. I'm friggin' taking care of chickens and pigs, and like I'm just like, what the hell am I doing? And then the music stuff started to eat away at me too. Like I'm like, man, like I was so close to what I had. And then when I was in Medjugorje, but that was it's just exactly how we were just talking about, like when we all we wanted was the money and the fame and all these things. But you have to figure out, I had to figure out who I was without the music too, like, because for a long time the music was the only thing that I defined myself by. And I remember it was one night, like it really hurt, like, because this artist that I was working with right before I went into community, his name's Black, but he spells it with a 6 instead of a B, so it's like Six Lack. But he's like he's a pretty big artist now, but I was working with him before I went away, and he was nobody. And in Medjugorje, they kind of you hear that helicopter? Before, when I was in Medjugorje, so they started kind of letting me have access to technology because they found out I had the gifts of music and things like that, and they kind of started letting me work on certain projects that we had. And the first thing I did was go on iTunes when I got access to the computer, and on the Apple Music like banner of like who's the new hot artist was that artist. So I was like, it just like was a knife in the heart. Like I couldn't sleep for like 2 weeks. Like, man, like what am I doing? Like I was with him every day. Like we were both struggling artists together, like we were eating dollar menu McDonald's every day, struggling together, but making music. And he blew up. And I was like, it hurt. But it was then, when I finally just prayed about it and just found peace with it, it was like, you know what? Like, if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. But this is what I'm doing right now,
I know exactly what that feels like. I know, like, to my core, especially when, like, when I fell out with creativity, or when COVID kind of fucked up all my shit. When I would, I can't tell you how many times somebody sends me a video of some comedian on a podcast or doing stand up, and they're like, and I go, yeah, I know that guy. I used to
Mm,
do open mics with him. I'd see him
mm,
like every fucking Monday. Yeah, I did stand up with that guy. Oh, I opened for that guy. Oh, I used to do showcases, and they're just like sending, and I'm just like, and I try, like, now I can be happy for people,
yeah.
but there were times where I was just, because I wasn't doing it, or I was not where I wanted to be, that it was just like, every time I'd get one, like, people would send me it, I'd just be like, I'd be
Burn,
like, yeah,
burn.
I used to hang out with those guys all the fucking time at that comedy club. And they wouldn't, because in their mind, I'm just down here. I'm not, but this person's on my phone. This person's famous. They wouldn't even attach those. So I know that used to eat away with me. How did you get over it? Because I'm curious.
Really,
How,
just in that place, you have a lot of time to think. You
Mhm.
know, that's what you're there to do, really, to think and pray and build and let God build you better. And I don't know. I just detached myself from the identity of music, like just really finding myself, like, who I really am. You know what I mean? That
Mm.
kind of is what helped me. It hurt because I identified with me being a producer so much that it was just that's all I was. So that's
Yeah.
why. But then once I started to just be Daniel, just be me as a man, and and find out who I really am without the music, that's when I just, I kind of accepted it, and I was like, you know what? I didn't hate on him. I wasn't jealous. I was just disappointed that I wasn't there, because I could have
Mhm.
been there. Like, I was right there. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, well, that's a good way of putting it. It's like, when you realize you're not a musician named Danny, you're Danny and you happen to be a musician, who happen to
Exactly.
be a producer.
Exactly.
That's a it's an important ego death, but it's also like, I've realized that you got to learn how to live without the thing you want in order to get the thing you want.
Exactly.
You got to learn how to be solo and single in order to be in a relationship. You got to learn how to be broke and poor and unsuccessful in order, I think so, in order to
Yep.
really, because you can get it without thinking that, but I think a lot of times people lose that, or they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
appreciate it.
If I would have got what I wanted when I was 18, 19 years old, if I would have took off and everything went the way I thought I wanted it to go, I would have been broke in a year, and on way more drugs.
if
And I would have been, definitely would have been a has-been for sure.
if I had got success in my early 20s when I was still kind of a cocky cunt, I would have, but eventually I would have been so disliked. Like, it would have, like, I would have to be that guy who is like re-getting into people's, like, good graces,
Yep.
um
Yep.
because I would have been too abrasive.
Yeah. I would have burnt all my bridges anyway.
So why'd you end up staying so long? If you only needed 3 years and your probation was for 2, why'd you stay for 5?
Um, hmm. Well, I don't know. It just became a lifestyle. I started to really appreciate the peace that I felt on a daily basis. Like I said, they started involving me in, like, production. Like, we put on, like, huge biblical play, like a huge play in Medjugorje, like, for all the pilgrims in the summertime, and I was a big part of that production. And I just felt needed. Like, in my life, I always like to feel needed. So
Yeah.
they made me feel needed. They made me feel like what I was doing was a big help, and I stayed.
It's real. I guess it really is the power of community.
Yeah.
I feel like so many people get lost in addiction, depression, mental illness simply because they don't feel needed. They don't
Yep.
feel valued. They don't feel like society or themselves or anybody really needs them. You go to work and you're just, another nameless cog in the wheel. You know, you get on the train, you get in your car, and you know, hey, if I got squished tomorrow, the world would roll on,
Yeah.
and that's a cancer for the fucking human soul, man. I that's why I think that um things like community work so much. Or like whenever I've been in those sort of situations where family's so important, when you're like, oh, I belong to something.
Yep.
I'm a part of something bigger than myself,
Yep.
and enough to make you stay for 5 years. Because damn,
Yeah.
a lot of people couldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially at my age. And it was hard when I got out too. Like, I remember getting out. You're like, man, especially the time that I went in. Like, it was like 2011 I went in, and then 2016 I got out. And in that time, the technological boom, like the social media, like really just like took over the world, and like phones really, like when I went away, yeah, I had an iPhone, but it wasn't like consuming the way it is. And like it was like time travel, man. Like, and I felt like I was a preserved human let loose in a world full of robots. Like I was in the gym tweaking out, like just seeing girls recording themselves, and I'm just like, weird. Like, it was very strange for like the first 2 years when I got out, like very strange. But I'm grateful. I was grateful for it though too, because I saw the negative effects, you know.
Was it hard for you to readjust?
Yeah, I remember when I got out, the first year I got out, I never seen Shawshank Redemption, and I watched Shawshank Redemption, and I remember, I think the old guy in the movie, his name was Mel, I think his name was.
Yeah, the guy who hangs himself. Spoiler alert. Sorry. Movie's been out for 30 fucking years. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, that scene, I remember crying, man. Like, cause I felt that way. Like, I felt alone. Like, after being in that community and really feeling that sense of just like being needed and loved, and like being really important to everyone, and then going just kind of, and then I just felt so, especially I moved back to Boston, so I just felt so alone. Like,
it's a cold fucking place,
like
physically and metaphorically.
yeah, like I just felt very alone a lot of times, you know.
How'd you overcome that so that you didn't just start getting into bad habits? Because a lot of times you get out,
I moved out of Boston.
Yeah.
Once I did that, I was good to go. No. You know what it was? I still had, like I had Ed. I had some of the community guys up there, and then, honestly, the local 11, like, yeah, I got still that little sense of community, because it's Stagehands Union is what I literally did for the last 2 years in Medjugorje, like building the stage, like. So it was literally what I was doing, and like it kind of like made me feel that connection again, you know.
Yeah, I know guys that have left that kind of just our work environment, and they go do something where you're just sitting in a cubicle and you just go, oh, I don't even get to. There's no camaraderie. I don't get to talk to people.
In terms of like any other job that I've had other than music, Local 11, that was the funnest job. Like, and just the characters, and it was literally just like Community, like. Because that's how Community is, just a bunch of lunatic drug addicts. You know what I mean? It's just a bunch of lunatics, trying to work together.
It's insane, the power of what monastic life will do for people. For what just putting people in a take a bunch of guys, and imagine people from all walks of life, drunks, drug addicts, you put them in like not as a convent, like a monastery, and you're like, all right, you work and you pray. And for most people, they're like, that's a fucking nightmare. But it's got people being like, I don't want to go back. I'd rather be here than go back into that chaos of the quote unquote real world,
And you know what? And you know what? Especially now, like, just the way technology and phones has just kind of really ruined the way we interact as humans. Like, that natural human experience is so pure and beautiful. Like you get to and it's so entertaining because, like I said, you're just with lunatics, like, and you meet the funniest people. You hear the like craziest stories, like, and you just find ways to entertain each other. Like I was more entertained in those 5 years than I was, at any point in my life. Even though we had no entertainment,
well,
each other.
That's a good line you just said. Your entertainment was each other. I think like if you get down to the core of most people from every culture, all they really want to do, besides your basic needs of, food and water and love, I think that's a basic need, is they just want to hang out. Yeah. People that's what really kills guys as they get older. I've seen it around my age. I'm 37, is people get married and they just kind of, you don't hang out with your friends anymore. You don't hang out people don't make time to just, hey, come on over. People, you feel like you never have time, but that's just hanging out. It's fucking huge.
Yeah. It's a big thing. And even though one of my faults is I love to isolate too. I
do too.
I love being alone, but it starts to wears on you after a while, it wears on you big time.
Dude, it was affecting me because during COVID, we were going through all that and I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not fucking playing this game. I know this is bullshit. I know you guys made this bullshit in the lab. I know rich people are getting rich off this. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not taking your vaccine. I'm not playing the game. I'm out, I played along long enough. I'm out. And I
didn't play along at all.
I no, I didn't either. I don't know.
I didn't play along at all. I'd be on the plane. I'd be on the plane, and they say, "You got to wear your mask on the plane." But we're gonna sell you very expensive snacks. I say, all right, give me $100 worth of chips. I'm gonna eat these chips for 3 hours on this whole flight. I'm not wearing this mask.
There was the only time I did when I was on an airplane or at the airport. They gave me shit going on a flight, and I was like, look, I don't want to get kicked off this flight. But beyond that, I was telling someone recently, I was like, you know what? Another COVID wouldn't be that bad because here's the thing. I don't do it. I don't do the mask. I don't do the quarantine. I don't do the vaccine. I went to Colombia when no one was there. They were quarantining cities and I'm still traveling. So I didn't, but when that happened, I started being like, oh, some of my family would distance themselves from me. And so I just was like, well, fuck you. I'm gonna get real distant now. I don't need your media. I don't need your corporate media. I don't need your stupid fucking TV shows and celebrities. The more I pulled away, I was like, there was something good about disengaging from propaganda, but I also was really getting isolated, other than just people that were like me. But even we were spread out, so it wasn't like I was hanging out with these people all the time. All my friends who were like me were pretty spread out. Yeah. And I'm off in the woods, and I start realizing that I'm like, oh, I've spent too much time alone because my work was getting antisocial. I could tell that there was like an and I was still trying to be funny, but there was like fuck you people. Like I wasn't around, I wasn't interacting with human beings enough to really, like, if you want to be an entertainer or you want to connect with people, you got to have a certain amount of, I don't know, connecting with people on a regular basis. Yeah. And I was like, there are times where I realize, I go, oh, Mike, you spent a little too much time alone, buddy. Yeah. The intrusive thoughts are starting to get to you. So finding that balance, I think, is huge. But what I've realized is when you're in an environment where you have a community and you have people, as long as you have, like, you can get away and spend time with your thoughts instead of your alone time being like, oh, I need alone time to dick off my phone for 3 hours. Yes. I need alone time to be on social media or playing video games. Because you're not,
they call it escaping. That's what we call it in the community. Yeah, not escaping. Just if you're sitting there with your thoughts, you know, and they also say that God speaks in silence, you know, those moments, that's when you're going to get the healing and face the demons in you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Don't
A
escape.
a couple of days ago, I deleted all my social media apps. So if I want to upload something, what I'll do is I'll re-download them and I'll post something and then I'll just fucking delete them again.
Yeah.
Because I was like not even realizing I was like, I'm supposed to be doing something. And I'm just on Instagram. And I went outside and I just sat on a bench in the woods, staring at a lake, and it's cold out. And before I knew it, I'm like, oh, I've been here just chilling for 30 minutes, just listening to, I don't know, random sounds, nothing, just the sound of the universe,
Yeah.
you know? And I was like, oh, I feel good. This
Yep.
is like, this is the alone time that I need is this shit, maybe reading. It's not when I go, hey, I need my alone time. And then my alone time is escaping. And it's not, I'm not alone. I'm not alone with me because I'm not with me. I'm with
Exactly.
I'm with my
You're
phone.
detached. You're detached. Yep.
How, so did they, so they gave you some technology. Was the temptation there for you to kind of break out of your lifestyle when you were in community?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
One of the first things I did was go look up some girls twerking. I was like, I need to see some women.
I was gonna say, it must be like because you find as you are finding out more about life outside, you find out things like Tinder and dating apps and hookup apps, and you just got to be like, oh shit, like I can fuck from my phone, like this thing. I just go do. You know, well, there's more to it. You're gonna be like, hey, I like you. Oh no, that's not what I think.
Gotta have a little bit of game. Gotta have a little bit of game.
Yeah, it's not automatic. There is work, but it is still like to have to be like, hey, I'm just gonna not touch.
And that's what I mean. That's what the intentions of the app is, anyway. You know, so both parties are there for that.
Were you like the youngest guy there?
At one point, at the beginning, yeah, probably at one point. But there's a lot of young kids that come in, and then eventually the community started to welcome more than just drug addicts. Like just because technology became a drug for the newer generation, so there was just kids that were just depressed and just video game addicts or whatever.
Yeah,
and their parents didn't know what to do with them, you know, and so it was more than just drug addicts. And
I
young kids would come in.
That I don't think I think people undervalue how bad that is for people in society, that so many young men have no friends and their time consists of anime, porn, video games, and arguing on social media message boards. That's it. And that's eventually how you end up with someone who's violent and antisocial and, you know, goes off the rail, hurts themselves, hurts other people, or, you know, ends up eventually the thing would be, you know, drugs or suicide or prison. Because there's not a maintainable thing. You can't, I'm a strong believer in a human being that's an island is a human being in pain. You know, you can't maintain that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that opened up because that's I've seen a lot of stuff on my social media of even grown men going to these things where it's like a man's retreat, and you know it's guys like it's kind of semi-militaristic where you know you're like, hey, fucking pick up those logs, motherfuckers, and get over there with your team, and you got to work together. But it helps people. People shit on it, but that helps people.
Yeah, no, definitely. Even the military, like any place where you can feel that real camaraderie with other men, especially, like it's really, it fills you up. It fills you up.
I've heard guys in the military say, even guys who were in combat, go, yeah, it was some of the worst experience of my life, but being there and having a crew was the best experience of my life.
When you're suffering with people, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Like when you're not suffering alone, like, all the circumstances might be fucked up, but when you got your boys there suffering with you, it's not so bad. You can laugh at it, you know, you can get through it.
That's why you make those people become your closest fucking friends.
Yep.
Were you somebody who was had faith or spirituality or was religious before you went into the community?
I
Did you
guess
find it there?
I would say I was never an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't religious. And then when I went in to community after that experience of dying, essentially, I was open to whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
the Catholic faith was, put in front of me, and that's what I took on, and then I got deeper into it, and then I've always kind of been a conspiracy theorist too, like probably since the age of 14, around the time I started smoking weed. I loved conspiracy. I would watch hours long videos.
What was your favorite one? What was the one that interested you the most?
Are we gonna get into that?
Just you can just give me a taste and we'll see how deep we go. Because I'm always, some guys are like, hey, I love like something like the moon landing. Some guys are like JFK. Some people like, yo, John Benet Ramsey is fucking Katy Perry. Like this, you can run the game.
I've passed through all those. I've gone through all those already. Those are.
And every now and then I find like a new one that I didn't quite, know before.
Yes. It is this new one like that I came across called it's about the great empire of Tartaria. Have you heard about that?
No.
And it's like the mud flood and how our whole history from the 1800s was altered. It's pretty intense. Like,
so,
I guess the concept is like there was this great empire that was like pretty much where Russia is. And if you look at old maps, you'll see the land of Tartary.
Okay. Tatars, yeah.
And they had buildings everywhere, and like the way they built their buildings, they figured out how to tap into the free energy, which they kind of just tell us Tesla was the guy who was figuring that out. But and then even with that conspiracy theory, they kind of say Tesla was a made up character just to cover that up. And like they all had free energy, free electricity, and something happened, some catastrophe happened, and there was like a reset. It's pretty interesting. And there's a lost
civilization type.
Yeah, lost civilization.
Like Atlantis or
exactly
Antarctica.
Lost civilization, and I guess the big part of it is like the free energy aspect of it. It's pretty interesting.
I think one of the ones I've heard recently that was new to me was what do you call it? It was there's no such thing as nukes. Nukes aren't real. Have you heard that one?
Oh yeah. Nukes aren't real. Dinosaurs aren't real.
I know quite a few guys that are into dinosaurs aren't real.
Yeah. I like it. I always lean more towards the conspiracy, even if I don't 100% believe it is, fact. You'll never know. We'll never really know the truth, but I'm always going to lean that way. That's just how
I explain a conspiracy to people like this, right? Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, and it's you just go, hey, maybe I was right, maybe I was wrong, or even if sometimes you're vindicated, sometimes you never know.
Yeah, but I'm never scared to be wrong either. And
no, that's a good thing.
And I never think that I know it all, so that's why I think I like it too.
Yeah. But I explain it because usually it's guys that are like this. Women aren't always deeper into conspiracies, but I explain it like to women because I go, hey, you ever just feel like your guy's cheating on you? Right? Like you're like, hey, this dude's he's doing up to something dirty. Now you don't have proof he's fucking around, but he's out doing other stuff. He's acting shady. He's just you can feel it. And when you ask him, he gaslights you.
Yeah.
You don't have proof, but you're like, I know something fucking sneaky's going on here. There's something shady. And then, eventually you break up and he's like, oh yeah, I was fucking your sister. And you're like, you motherfucker. I'm like, yeah, that's welcome to COVID and several other things. Welcome to, that's how I feel. Sometimes you just have an intuition where, and there might be proof that's not being, the media is not covering, but sometimes it's just like, my soul tells me that something funny is going on here. And maybe I don't know exactly what funny is going on, but I just feel something's fucking funny.
Yeah, my intuition's usually on point. That's why when I get those feelings when I watch certain conspiracies or something, and I get that little taste of truth, I know I can taste the truth. I feel like most people can, but if they can if they want to, you know what I mean? If they want to look.
Sometimes I think people don't even realize that we've gone past one. So take like the dinosaur thing, right? I actually was running a camera at a conference and John Mulaney was there. And I never really liked Mulaney. And I watched him. I go, oh shit, this guy's funny. And he had this joke about conspiracy theories. And he was like dinosaurs. You don't know that that's what they looked like. Like I know they're telling us they have feathers now. I know they're saying it looks like this, but some dude could have just been like, I'm just gonna stick these two hands here, and that's the scary one, the one with the baby hands. But early on,
the one with the baby.
Early on, like with the T-Rex, if you see old movies and they used to break the tailbones because they were like a lizard wouldn't walk upright. Like we know in Jurassic Park, they showed the T-Rex like walking around kind of flat like with his tail out. Before that, for 100 years, they thought that he stood like this and his tail dragged along on the ground and he just waddled. And some dude was like, dude, I'm telling you, he leaned forward and he balanced himself with his tail. And everyone was like, you fucking dummy, you stupid. And then we were like, oh yeah, that's how it was. And everyone's just, sometimes, and then no one says anything. And then if you said, hey, to the old guys, they got feathers, they'd be like, shut the fuck up. He's a lizard, not a chicken. What are you talking about? You never
mainstream science narratives too. It's literally it's just the same system that's lying to us anyway. You know.
Well, dude, you know what's something funny? I got this from like Always Sunny. There's an episode where I think Mac is the guy who says to Dennis, he's like, "How do you know that there was this Big Bang? How do you know there's a star out there that you haven't seen?" And he goes, "Well, because scientists told me." And he goes, "Well, how do you know they know?" And he's like, "Well, eventually got him to say that I have faith." And he's like, "Well, yeah, it's a system of faith." And I used to operate that way. Yep. I still think the moon landing happened. A lot of most people I know don't, but it's at the end of the day, it is faith. It's really no different than saying I have faith in my faith or my religion or God. It's just you being like, I have faith.
You're trusting what another person said at the end of the day.
I'm trusting that this guy who's telling, I don't know if there is dark matter. I've never fucking seen it. And they also tell me that it's not fucking there, so I have no way of really knowing that it's out there. But if they go, hey, this thing's there, I go, all right, I can choose to have faith in you if I trust you. Or I can say, yeah, I don't have faith in you. And you can call me a dummy, but I haven't seen it. It's hard for me to, to know. I get the concept of dark matter because that's kind of how my feeling on God is. Yeah. I think C.S. Lewis had a really good quote where he said, I believe in God not because I've seen him. I'm really paraphrasing it, but not because I've seen him. I know he's there because of the reflection of him and his works on everything else in the world. And that's kind of how I feel about like dark matter. People are like, yeah, you can't see it, but we know it's there because of how it affects other celestial bodies. And I'm like, dude, that's how I would characterize God is, I don't walk outside and go, hey, what's up, dude? Nice seeing you up there. I know his effect on my life, or, and I think if you can think of it that way, it's easier for people to digest, because sometimes you walk in a church and it's a lot. It can be scary, especially early on. There's a lot of rules. What? Sorry, we digressed. Let me get back to. So 5 years in community. What made you say, "Hey, I've done my time. I'm ready to go back"?
Two of my good friends that I was really close with in there were calling it a day too, and I was like, I'll call it a day too. That's what. That's all it came down to.
Intuition.
I just was like, you know what? I didn't feel like that anxiety. Like I need to go. I need to get out of here. Like it wasn't that. It was just like a sense of peace with how when I thought about the decision, I was like, yeah, okay, and I felt peace, and I went.
That's good to hear. That's how whenever I try and help people meditate, that's how I explain stopping meditation. Like, when do I stop? And I'm like, doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or 30 minutes, you'll
Mm.
just go, your mind will go, okay.
Yeah,
All right, yeah, yeah. It happens. It's like when you wake up, your
exactly.
body's just like, all right, we're doing this.
Exactly.
And you came to Boston
Yeah, I went to
right
Boston.
after.
Yeah, I went to Boston and I stayed with a priest named Father Joe in St. Joseph's. It's right next to the TD Garden. Stayed there.
Oh, and the north end, the west end, up
It's
there.
the West End, yeah, West End, and I stayed there for I don't know how long, a year. He's a sober priest too. He goes to
Oh
AA,
shit.
and he's like a family friend. He was in a Christmas pageant with my grandmother
No
in
shit.
in the 70s. Yeah, so he's been a friend of my family for a long time. And then after that, I moved to St. Augustine with a friend for a little bit, and then moved back to Boston to stay with my grandmother. I took care of my grandmother in her last days when she had dementia. She passed away 2 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And that was when I saw you when we were working together. Was in that
Yeah.
time frame. Were you
Yep.
doing music then? Were you back to producing?
Right when I got right when I got back and I moved into the church in the West End, my friend stole a computer. He's like, "You need to make beats again, man. You need to make beats." He stole a computer and overnighted it to me, and the screen was cracked and everything. He's like, "No, you got to make beats, man. You got to make beats." And I was like, "All right." So I started to dabble a little bit here and there, and like any free time I had, I started to do it. And then I was at my grandmother's house. I set up a little home studio. Because really today, all you need is a laptop. You don't need anything to produce music. Technology's made it very simple. And yeah, I just slowly but surely started getting more and more into it, especially during COVID. Especially with all that unemployment money, I bought some more equipment. And then, yeah.
So what made you say, hey, I'm going to jump ship from, working this regular job to putting all my effort and time into my music again?
When I moved away from Boston, any other job that I had, I just hated it. Like Local 11 really held me down, and it gives you that flexibility to do what you want to do, go where you want to go, and the people are fun, and I enjoyed that job so much. I didn't really feel I still had the dream with the music, but I was like okay with working too. Like I enjoyed the work.
Yeah.
And then when I moved back during COVID, I moved back down to Florida with my parents for a little bit, and I decided to stay down because Boston was just killing me. Like it was miserable. Like my second February or third February, it was bad, man. Like and not for nothing, the quality of women up there and it was rough.
The grumpiness it's everywhere, and it's unfortunate people don't it's kind of like how a fish doesn't know it's living in water because that's what it swims through. I think we don't know that we're swimming through this kind of fuck you, you get the fuck, and
there's a charm and a slightly endearing aspect of it too.
There's a medium.
But then when I was back there as an adult and then growing up in Florida and just knowing what life could be, I was like, I can't do this shit.
When you're with a girl and she's so like that, which I find it to be a masculine kind of trait, which is like, fuck you, what? And she
no. In women, I can't deal with it. I just meant in like the culture of Boston.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean, but it's when even a girl can't communicate her feelings to you.
Yeah.
Even she's like, I'm not a pussy. I don't fucking talk about my feelings. You're like, oh wow, this is not gonna work. It's like,
No,
It's like I'm dating one of my boys.
exactly. No, exactly. Like I remember I was for a little while, I was kind of seeing this female rapper. Oh,
Oh man.
by the and she was gorgeous. Like she was
Yeah,
very
yeah, but
good looking girl. And I literally told her, I was like, I think you're too masculine. Like, and she looked very feminine. But when she opened her mouth and she was from New York and she was calling
yeah.
me son and saying suck my dick, and I was just,
Oh, oh, dude. Oh,
I can't do it
hey,
anymore.
hey, yo, you want to fuck me, son?
It's,
Get over here.
it's the worst.
Let
That
me
is,
sit on that fucking face.
it's bad. It's really
Hey,
bad.
bro, eat this pussy, bro.
It's really bad. Like, and I didn't realize it till I got older, but it's bad. That's really unattractive. It's really unattractive.
It's tough. I've known girls like that with that New York girls exactly like that too. And
Yeah.
I know why. They grew up in a hot place. They had to protect themselves from
For sure.
aggressive men. But at a certain point, you just want to be like, hey, bring down those walls. Let me just, you don't have to be a princess. Let me hold you, make you feel like one. All right. Just me and you, no one else has to know, but
Yeah.
it's tough because they can't even let down the wall with you.
Yeah.
I maintain that you can look incredibly feminine and be masculine, and you can look masculine and be incredibly feminine.
Yep.
It's how you carry yourself and all that shit. So that's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, so I was saying, so you asked about diving into the music. So I guess during COVID, that's all I started to do was the music, and started working with just local artists here and really just investing all my time into it and really fell in love with it again. And but as much as Miami is a hotspot, I didn't have any network in terms of like real network, like really knowing important people,
Yeah.
And last year, one of the local artists that I work with, who's been my boy, I worked with him even before I went to Community. His cousin started shooting music videos. His cousin was from Jersey, and his cousin started shooting music videos for an artist in Puerto Rico. And he was like, "You guys should come out here. Like, it's really like crucial that you come out here. Yeah, it's like the hub. It's the hub. You got to come out here." And I went, and I also at that time went through the worst breakup of my life, where like I wasn't even like I hadn't had a real relationship because I was in Community for 5 years. Like before that, I was just messing around with girls, and when I went through that bad breakup as an adult, like it was man, that is the most painful thing.
Those hurt.
Ever. Woo! Like, whew. And man, it was bad. But the thing was, I ended the relationship. Like I cut the person off because it was just unhealthy, but it still hurt me more. You know what I mean? And
those grown breakups, they hurt. Like when you're young and you feel like your heart's broken, you cry, you're like, oh. But when you've like invested time and you're older and you're like, oh, I got to go back out there into the field again, and you're just like, those really hurt.
Yeah.
Those ones. Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, so I went out there. I was completely depressed, but I was still making beats, and I met this producer who I'm signed to. His name's Hydro, and he's been signed out there to a label since he was like 17. He's younger than me. He's like 24, 25.
Oh, damn.
And he's got huge songs, like huge songs. Like he really made a name for himself on the island. He knows everyone. And I met him and we hit it off as not just in the music, but as friends. And he's just a really good person. Like he's got a huge heart. Like he'll do anything for me. You know what I mean? He's a very trusting person, which sometimes is probably his downfall, but he's a good person. And I've always been like that too for the most part of my life. I've always been giving, especially in the music, because artists don't understand how much the producers put in and the time and getting the songs ready and spending all night. Like, they come in, they record their raps, smoke weed, and go home, and then we're left, with finished product.
You're editing, which is enormous.
Exactly. So, you know, and he understood, you know, where I was as a producer, and he just, the first trip I went out there, he let me be a part of this song, and I went home, and then that album went #1 in the world. This artist named Eladio, he's essentially the Latin Drake. Like
Yeah.
he's literally he's signed to the same label as Bad Bunny. He's like the second biggest artist on that label, and that song just got the album got nominated for a Latin Grammy, and that was my first trip out there right after the breakup.
And this is the album you worked on?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he didn't have to do that, you know. I didn't know. I just met him, you know, and we just got along. We bonded. He liked my beats, and he was like, "Here, you want to work on this song?" The song was already done. He didn't even need me to do that.
Really?
He just let me add some percussion to it, and he was like, "All right." And that was it. And I went home, and I was #1 in the world on an album, and I was like, "This is crazy." And then that's when
How'd that feel?
It was cool. Like, it wasn't like I don't know. I feel like God's giving me these things because I'm ready to take it maturely.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that it's work. Like, it's hard work. Like, now I got to put my foot on the gas. Like, because there's a million other young producers out there that want my spot, you know? So now I got to put my foot on the gas. And that's what I did. Like, I left, I quit my job. I was working at Toyota. I just quit my job at Toyota selling cars. And I just went to Puerto Rico. And another thing that I've been blessed with in my life is my friends. Like, God's given me really, 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 really good friends. Like, my best friend that I live with, he was like, "Don't even worry about the rent. Just go to Puerto Rico. Just go."
Wow, damn.
He held me down. Like, he believed in me. Like, just go. Like, don't even worry about $1. Like, and he's working a regular job at Costco.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'll take care of it."
That's awesome, dude. Were you scared? Like, when you made the jump, did you have trepidation?
Honestly, no, it just everything feels right. Like, it just feels, there isn't like, I was scared before I got the opportunity, when I was getting closer to 30 years old and I was making beats and I didn't know anyone, and, you know, important enough to put me in a position, or, you know, I was feeling a little bit like, but there was kind of COVID, which paused the world. So everyone was on pause. So it was just like, well, everyone else is not going that much further right now. We're all just chilling. So but after COVID, when it started to die down, and before I went to Puerto Rico, it was a little bit of like, damn, like, what am I going to do? Am I really going to do this music, or am I going to, you know? But once I went to Puerto Rico, and the first trip I went, that happened, I was like, I'm not scared. Like, this is worth the risk. Like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. This looks like you made it to the promised land. So how do you like living in Puerto Rico?
I love it. It's my favorite place. It's like Miami 2.0, but it's better because
I love Puerto Rico.
The culture is, you know, it's like Miami. Yeah, it's Latino, you know, but it's got that glamour to it, and it's, you know, it's a little snobby at times. But Puerto Rico is just humble. Everyone is like, they embrace me so much more that I'm an outsider, you know?
Yeah.
And like I said, like, Hydro, the producer, just put me in a room with anyone, like, it didn't matter. And it didn't matter how many accolades that person had. If I met them, they were like, "You want to work on something?" Like, everyone was just embracing it. And Miami is not like that at all. Like, in the States in general, in the music industry, everyone's got big ego, big pride. No one wants to help anyone. And that's why Puerto Rico is winning. That's why I call it the hub of music in the world. Like, it's the mecca of music right now in the world, because the way they support each other and the way they help each other. In the States, an artist, the fans are fickle, like, with anything, not even just music. The fans here are fickle. Like, you can get canceled tomorrow. You can you can you can be forgotten tomorrow. But there's artists that have had careers. You can have a career for as long as you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something weird about how we, I'm sure I'm thinking about how there's an underlining theme here as I say this out loud, but we kind of build up false gods, you know. We don't have, a lot of people are just, you know, empty in that respect. So they take people who they're a fan of and they build them up to be messianic and near prophetic, and then they fucking, when they can't maintain, because we're not godlike, we're not meant to be perfect. They tear them down.
It's crazy.
And so one of my buddies, my buddy Drew Dunn, great comedian, he's opening for Dane Cook. Now Dane was one point when I was like in college, so like a while ago, right? Dane was like the biggest thing ever. And everyone I knew loved Dane, right? And then all of a sudden he got a little too ubiquitous and it became not cool to like him. So people just started fucking hating on him. And it's like, hey, he didn't change. He didn't do anything to get in trouble, but people were so happy to just kind of dunk on him.
It's weird. I don't know what it is about us in the States that we're like that, but I tell you over there, like even you can, this little things that show it, like even the comment section on an art, you can go on a comment section of an artist here and just find all the little sly, slick remarks, people hating on you.
Yeah.
And when I even just go on an artist comments from Puerto Rico, you don't see it. Like you barely, it's rare that you see it. And they just build each other up. They really build each other up.
I wonder if it's a scarcity mindset. Like maybe people here think that there's only so much success, or because it might be having to do with how we view, like, if you didn't obtain this quote unquote American dream, you're a failure, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I heard a good quote. It's from like a John Steinbeck book that America doesn't have poor people, it has disgraced millionaires. Like no one can just, everyone thinks that they're at the top because they have to be, because their egos place them there. And then when they're not, and someone else is, or someone else, they have to wreck his shit.
Yeah.
But I guess it shows that sense of community that you learned in Cenacolo, and Puerto Rico has that too. I see it in Colombia, which is like, hey, we're in this together. Some of us do good. We all fucking do good, you know?
Yep. Yeah. I think it's definitely a like Latin culture too, just the way they're still more family oriented. They're still, and they really just, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Like it really is. Like there's like the amount of access that I gained in 1 year, you know, thanks to hydro and just the whole island of Puerto Rico, the amount of access I gained to the music industry is like, it doesn't even make any sense to me. Like it is crazy.
Are you, this is why I want to learn Spanish so bad, so I can try stand up in Latin America.
That would be crazy.
I've been learning, but I still got a ways to go. Like I'm good enough to like go around places and ask for things. And but it's
you're gonna end up being there for long periods of time now that you know you're married to her, but you'll get it. You'll get it.
I've been getting it. The only thing is their style of humor is very different.
Yeah.
So I can be very sarcastic, or like I say something that's so outlandish that the joke is that I said something outlandish, and they don't pick up. Like I was hanging out with her cousin, and I was making some misogynistic joke about like how I was like, oh yeah, I wrote, you know, I know what women need better than they do. And she goes, yeah. And I go, yeah, I wrote my thesis on how women need to be told by a man what to do at all times of the day post Industrial Revolution. She's like, really? And I go, fucking no. Like, it's just.
But they're also not in the same societal predicament that we're in. So it's like, you know what I mean? But once that's the thing. Another thing about Community, when I went to Italy, I was like, man, they don't get my humor. They don't get this. Like, they don't understand how. But then when you put that pride aside and you learn their humor, you're gonna be like, oh, I like this. I like it.
Yeah.
You like it. You know,
there's something there. I don't fully know it yet. I just gotta figure it out.
It's the language too. Once you get the language, and then just even the way in like in Italian, like certain things would be delivered by someone from Southern Italy, it just became very funny. Like the cadence, it's just the same thing as a comedian, like the delivery, you know, it's a different delivery.
I've learned that learning a new language, I wish I really spend more time on it when I'm younger. I'll do it now, and I hope that I'm learning new languages till the day I die. Yeah. But when you learn a new language, it's kind of like you get to see the world through a new set of glasses.
Yep.
Because you realize, oh, how they interpret life is different. And sometimes it's really basic stuff like when you use reflexive verbs in Spanish. when you say me encanta or me
Mhm.
gusto. You're
Yeah.
saying like, oh, you're not saying I like. You're saying
Yeah.
it's pleasure to me, or
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
there's and those simple things as they add up over time, you realize how the structure of the language can affect literally how people trust one another or don't trust one another. How they
That is 100% true. 100% true.
and it is a beautiful language.
Yeah.
Are you fluent?
No,
Pretty close.
I'm very fluent in Italian, which is a
Really?
useless language.
Well,
It's a, I haven't used it, but maybe at a restaurant once or twice. But
that's because the Italians weren't good at having colonial empires, you know.
yeah,
After,
right.
Genoa and Venice had their little things, but pretty much after Rome, they weren't. So I'm trying to think, what did they have? Libya, and the Libyans don't really speak Italian, so they didn't.
Yeah,
So you're not any good.
yeah.
But
No,
it's
my Spanish is okay. Like I can communicate. But the thing about Puerto Rico is since it's a territory, everyone speaks English, and I understand perfect. Like
yeah.
I understand Spanish perfect. Like even now, like Puerto Rican slang, like everything, like I don't miss a beat understanding. But
Damn, that's I have a hard time understanding
yeah,
Puerto Rican Spanish. It's
yeah.
really
But you
tough.
just once you immerse yourself in it, and
You get used to it.
you pick up word by word, and then start putting things in context. And I mean, that was one of my biggest fears when I went to Italy was the language, because my mom is from the Dominican Republic, and growing up, I didn't learn Spanish, or I spoke it when I was little, and then I let it go once I went to Boston schools, and people make fun of you, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
for speaking another. So I just was like, all right, my last name's Wahlberg, I speak English, like,
Yeah.
and and then later on in life you regret that, and then
Yeah.
now my sister's the only one that learned. Me and my brother didn't want to learn. We have both had the same mentality, and now we're learning Spanish later in our life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is what
It's funny how much stuff you sometimes won't allow yourself to progress for fear that it'll set you apart from other people
that's
around you.
exactly all it was fear,
Hmm.
and then in Boston it was fear of speaking Spanish, and then when I moved to Miami where everyone's Spanish and Caribbean, then it's like, oh, now I'm fearful of my dad that's white coming to pick me up, because now I'm gonna get made
Yeah.
fun of. My dad's white, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And that did happen. It literally
Yeah.
did happen.
Yeah. You're never going to be enough for some
Yep.
people.
Yep.
You just got to be enough for yourself, and God, you were made enough. It's a hard thing for people to realize. Like fitting in is, you want to be a part of a group, as we talk about community, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, I've realized the more people press on me to like change or make fun of me, like I get made fun of my accent all the time. And I remember my buddy like coming back from college, and he nerfed his accent. And I go, what happened? He goes, didn't people make fun of you? People make fun of me so much. I go, I get made fun of every time I open my mouth, I get made fun of. He goes, you didn't do anything? You didn't change your accent? I go, no, because fuck them. No. Why would I? And in the end, when you don't change, when their criticisms crash upon you like waves on a rock, they respect you more. It's such a weird dynamic that like when you do change, people are kind of like, oh, and then when you don't, they're like, oh, I respect you for never allowing yourself to be morphed by. It's I don't know, man. It's wild.
Yeah. Yep.
So who have you been working with Bad Bunny?
Yeah.
Really?
Not personally, because Drake and Bad Bunny, they're like you don't really get to be in the room with them when they're
Yeah.
working, unless you're really in their circle,
Mm-hmm.
But
But you get to work on their music, right?
yes, exactly. You just kind of email it and hope you land something, pretty much,
That's
But
that's an interesting dynamic
yeah,
to.
that's what happened. Me and Hydro and another producer, Stats, that we're all part of the same collective. We sent some beats over, and one landed, and then we were hearing rumors about it. Is it on the album? Is it not on the album? And then a couple weeks later, we get the email, highly confidential, Bad Bunny do not show anyone this paperwork. Like, don't show anyone, not even the song. I didn't even hear the song. Just the paperwork, the contracts. And sure enough, and then I was in Puerto Rico. I was in Puerto Rico already when we got the news, and then, my friend told me, the Hydro told me on FaceTime. He's like, "Oh, we got one with Bad Bunny." I was like, "Shut up!" Like, this is the guy. This is Taylor Swift. This is Drake. Yeah. This is that level. This is that.
This is global. This isn't just music in the backyard. This is global.
Yeah. And then he did at the big arena over there. He did a surprise listening party concert for the new album. And he flew out all the producers. I was already there, but he flew out all the producers on the album, all the artists that were featured on the album. And the other thing, there was a rumor that got started that Drake was on the song that we did, because the song was called Mr. October. And Drake's whole thing is October's very own. He was born in October. So we thought, but it was in reference to Reggie Jackson. But we thought Drake was on it, which that would have been the grand slam.
Yeah.
But without Drake, it's still a home run. You know?
Yeah, it's still an amazing achievement.
But and that, honestly, that moment was the first moment. And honestly, I don't think there'll ever be another moment like that again, because
I got goosebumps just hearing you tell that, dude. And I wasn't even fucking there.
I was right. Like, they built like this huge like pyramid stage thing, and it had like different rows, and they put all the featured artists and all the producers on it, and I was right up there on the top next to all these people, like big artists, big Latin artists, big Latin producers, like, and Bad Bunny came right up there, and then Hydro was talking to him, because Hydro already worked with him years ago when he first blew up, and then he was like, "Yeah, this is the kid that helped me with the beat." And then he grabbed me on the shoulder, shook me, and shook my hand. And yeah, it was just a surreal moment, like, to be able to, like, because it's one thing when you get a song on an album, but then to actually go to that like big release party and be there and be a part of like everyone hearing it for the first time and like seeing everyone's reaction. Like, it was a full, so like Bad Bunny can sell that place out for 3 weeks straight. Like, everyone, it's going to be full every night. Like,
oh. Being recognized for your accolades it's an amazing achievement. It feels good.
It was nice, man. It was a blessing. And now, but the same thing, like right when after that moment, like, it's just, I got to put my foot on the gas. I got to put my foot on the gas. I want to do music for 5 years, and that's it. Like, I mean, I'll probably do music for the rest of my life, but to actually lean on it as a job, like, I got 5 years in me. I'm old.
Fucking 30. You're not that old.
Oh, man.
Come on, man. You did.
But the thing is, it's a young man's game. That's true. There is your industry. Not so much for producers, but
yeah, Timbaland's still producing. He's got to be at least 50.
Yeah, but he made that name when he was young.
When he was young,
and now he's always going to be Timbaland.
Yeah.
But it's a young man's game for sure, and there's a lot of young kids, and producing so accessible these days that there's a lot of people out there that want to do it.
Well, yeah, you know what? You're in a tough situation too, because in your industry, the tastes change so rapidly. Especially, they change faster than ever before with social media.
And I used to, just like you, deleting all your social media. I used to do that all the time for months at a time, and now I can't, because I have to pay attention to what's going on. Like, all I follow is different artists and trying to find the next sound, and just paying attention to I have to pay attention to what's going on. Got to pay attention, got to stay fresh, got to be aware of who is a potential next huge artist, who is that next Bad Bunny. I'm always looking for new artists, new talents. Like, I got to pay attention, got to keep my ears on point.
Do you ever get down on yourself if you send somebody something and they're like, nah,
It's sending them something and not getting placed is fine, but being in the room with them and they're like, nah.
Yeah.
When you're actually playing the beats for them and they're like, nah, not that one. Nah, not that. There's some picky artists out there. That's why there's a, like, it's a blessing to work with artists that are actually easy to please, like,
Mhm.
because and the thing is, producers we know where the sound is going. We know, good producers, like, we know where it's gonna go. Like, if you just trust us a little bit, just like, Eminem trust Dr. Dre, or who,
Mhm.
if you just trust our sound a little bit, and we trust what you're gonna do, and it'll work out, but sometimes they're picky though, man. I played, like, one time, the artist Eladio, who's like the Latin Drake, I literally played him 30 beats. Half the time he was like not paying attention. He was
Yeah.
like here, he was there, but then he was like, oh God, I kind of like that one, put that one in a folder.
Yeah.
But like, usually because I work with a lot of local artists, I impress them right away. Like, I
Mhm.
play one beat, they're like, let's go, let's record this. Like, but then some artists are just picky.
Damn.
But
That's because like
it doesn't hurt. It's whatever.
I mean, that's a good thing because some people, that can wreck them. Some
And
people.
then sometimes you could play the same beats for that artist on a different day, and they'll hear them a different way because they're in a different mood. They're in a better mood. They're
Yeah.
taking This one guy sent the same beat to Lil Baby. He passed up on it like 5 times, and then he played it for him in person, and then it became one of Lil Baby's big songs. You know what I mean? Sometimes the artists they're not in the mood. They're distracted.
Yeah. No, I've experienced that with telling jokes or working on with bookers, or even in like my union job where somebody's like, "Hey, can you move that sign?" And I go, "Oh, just moved it." And they're like, "Oh, it's perfect. I didn't fucking touch it."
Yeah.
You just think
Oh, that's another thing. Even
you
in
think
music,
I did.
yes. In music, a lot of that's like a big meme in the like all my Instagram, like, it's producer memes and stuff like that. And like the artist will say, "Oh, can you turn that down a little bit in the song?" And they're like, pretend to touch it, and they're like, "How's it now?" Perfect. It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
It's just, sometimes it's people just want an input on it,
Yes.
or they're like they're like, "Yeah, I want to like it," but it's weird. Creatives get finicky. Like I'm making stuff for YouTube right now, and I get all these videos, and I'm like, oh, you'd be surprised the fight I'm having in my mind if I want to make them 15 minutes and make more of them, or
Yeah.
just make them 30 minutes and make fewer of them,
Yeah.
which isn't the end of the world. But in my mind, I'm just like, I've been debating it for days, and I'm like, this isn't, end of the world debate. But
What are they
sometimes you just
like skits or what?
no, it's travel stuff. It's me.
Oh, the travel stuff. Okay.
It was me like going around Boston, me going around Columbia, going around different places, and just videotape my experiences.
Yeah.
And I never, because you Google, hey, what should I make, longer or shorter videos? And of course, there's going to be two schools of thought, and no one's ever like, hey, here's a concrete yes or no. It's just,
Yeah. I would do
what,
both. And I would find little reels too, find little shorts.
that's what I've kind of been coming to the conclusion,
Yeah.
is to maybe switch off. They don't all have to be one way. Just
Yeah.
wherever it feels like you got a good stopping
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
stop and
I
move
mean,
on.
that's how you reel them in with the reels. You reel them in, and then people like more of you. They want to see more of you, and then
Mm-hmm.
your real fans will sit through a 30-minute video and watch you.
Little by little,
Yep.
you gotta give them a taste.
Yep.
What are your next plans? You're gonna hang out and stay in Puerto Rico? You planning on heading back
Right
to
now I'm home in Florida, and then I go back to Puerto Rico on the 16th. And every time I go to Puerto Rico, I got a one-way ticket. So I don't know
Yeah.
what's gonna happen.
I try and do that with Colombia, except the problem is that they've started like checking for return flights. And so sometimes I've had to, show like book something and cancel, or just show them fakes. Like, it's a lot of times you can be like, hey, I gotta, if there's a land border, you can go, hey, I'm gonna take a bus here. With Colombia, it's like nobody's fucking going to Venezuela, and their other land border is with Ecuador, and it's like it's just dudes crossing on a bridge, so it's not like I can pull up a bus company. But I know that feeling. It's a good feeling to say, hey, I'm heading, and there's no limit on when I come back.
Yeah. And community prepared me for this. So like God really prepared me for this too, because like I got used to being a nomad in community, just going wherever they tell me to go, and no matter how uncomfortable it is. Like Puerto Rico's been uncomfortable too, you know. Like I'm on a lot of couches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I've been broke there. You know what I mean? So, but it's been suffering with people that all have the same goals, and it's been suffering for like a greater purpose that I already see the results from. So I enjoy the suffering. It's great because you know, once I got it all, you know what I mean, I'm gonna look back at these times like this was the most beautiful time.
And that's a good mindset to have. A lot of people don't appreciate it in the moment. You know, it's the build up to it that's really, you know, so where, you know, eventually you go, oh, some of the greatest joys took place. Even when dude, I've spent years sleeping on my brother's floor, you know, like and I finally got like a little, not even a mattress. I'm telling you, dude, I don't know. I think you could give me like in the future a king size bed. I don't think I'll ever sleep quite like I did soundly coming home from working 3 shifts, you know, just to make ends meet and sleeping on that little cot, hoping that for a better tomorrow, you know? It's good shit, man. It's come a long way. Were you one of those guys who when you were younger you were like, oh, it's gonna happen? Like you were just like it's
I was you know what it is too is seeing really my Uncle Donnie, because my Uncle Donnie, you know, was in the New Kids on the Block. And I remember like as a kid, like we had the cassettes, we had the VHSs, and I would watch it and I knew it was my uncle, and I just knew it was possible. Like I was like, oh, this is possible. Like I can
it's tangible.
It's tangible, and once I started, and my peers, luckily in my life, I haven't, not to my face, I haven't had a lot of haters or doubters, and I've been blessed to have a lot of supportive people in my life. And when I was younger, I got cocky and big-headed with it. Once, you know, I started to progress, I got really cocky and like I said, never put in the work. But now it's like I'm really ready. You know, my character is ready. You know, I've been humbled, and I'm still being humbled all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like I went to that Bad Bunny show. I was on stage. I was on every Instagram post of the concert. And the next day I'm going to a little studio Airbnb, sleeping on an air mattress. Like, still being humbled every day. You know what I mean? And I love it. I embrace it now. Like it's going to only build me up to make better decisions and appreciate things more.
It's a good way of looking at it. Whenever I think I get it figured out, life happens, and I realize there's no end to figuring it out. You know, so I've been like you. I've been nomadic, living out of putting my clothes in bags and just going back and forth between, you know, my place, my ex-girl's place, her family's place, my family, going to New York, going to New Hampshire, going to Boston, just traveling, doing shows, doing all this stuff, and not often having a sense of permanence, you know. And now that I'm married, like my wife called me out on it. She's like, I like having a home base. And I know you, and I was like, oh shit. Like I'm operating with a responsibility to another human being now. So it's not just like, hey, we're gonna crash over when we're traveling. Well, you know, she's really cool with, like, you know, I don't have a prima donna, but she's a woman, and she's not a spring chicken. You know, we're both in our 30s, so she's like, I'm not sleeping on a fucking I'm not like sleeping, like if we stay with your family for a little bit, but you know, like certain things that I could clearly tolerate on my own, you know, have to change. And then I'm like, oh man, I didn't think all this through when we got married, you know.
Like, those things are good for you though.
They are. Know? It is. It is.
We need a little bit, even though as much as I love it, just getting up and going and having no responsibilities, we need a little bit of that structure and a little bit of that stability in our lives always.
It's good. She's my opposite, because otherwise I'd just be over the top on so many things.
Yeah.
Where I'm always like trying to get her to dance in the street with me in Colombia.
Yeah.
She's like, no, we just she won't do it. Because I like and I enjoy the limelight. She hates it. Wants nothing to do
Yes.
with it. And I'm like, I'm glad I'm not dating somebody who's just like maybe it could work, but at the same time, it'd probably be too much.
No, the opposite's always better. You need someone to, it's the balance, you know what I mean? You need that.
Yeah, that's true. So what's next for you in your career and life? Are you just going where it falls?
Next for me today is I'm gonna make a sandwich. I'm gonna watch a little bit of The Office, start a couple beats, and that's it.
Good for you, man.
I have my long-term goals and then just present day, and that's it. Like I don't have that in between. Like I know I'm going to Puerto Rico on the 16th, cool, but other than that, I just know I still gotta keep my head down in front of this computer and work and just put my foot on the gas. I know I gotta do that, and then the right things will happen.
Shit, it's a good way of looking at it. That's kind of how I do it. You keep the long-term goal in mind, but if you start trying to like short-term, this bar and this bar, the anxiety gets to you.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it depends on your character, your personality type. It doesn't do me any good.
No, I set a bar for me with I have to have this many videos out this often because I've seen that other people say that's how they get stuff done.
Yeah.
But I was churning out shit content. I didn't like what I was making.
Yeah. That's the more the quantity over quality route.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way with producing. Like there's producers who be like, I made 100 beats a day. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
No.
I'm gonna make 3 quality beats that I know they're gonna land somewhere. Like I'm not making a bunch of shit for no reason.
Yeah, if I'm making it just because I've said I have to make it.
Yeah.
Like I understand there's a good work ethic there.
It's good discipline. It's good discipline, but
my heart's not in it.
Quality's got to be there, and it's got to be. If your heart's not in it, people aren't gonna relate.
Well, dude, thanks for. I guess we'll wrap up. Thanks for doing this. This was really fun.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for starting up the podcast again.
Yeah, I have been meaning to. I'm glad you reached out, like, because I brought back like an episode, just me alone, and a bunch of people reached out and went, "Oh shit!" Like we're like happy, and my friend, fan of the podcast, Shanna, she would be like, "Mike, I think it was May 19th or whatever, was like, that was your last one." I go, I know. I just, like I said, that I had a void that wasn't working with me. Plus, also, I was fucking dead from working. And I had to, now that I can dedicate my time better to this stuff and getting a better habit, I'm definitely there. I'm glad you're.
Let me say something to you too, man. You do a good job at this. Like you really like. I tell you're prepared, and you're good. You're great at conversing, and you're very insightful too. Like I can see you got to keep going with the podcast. I got a feeling about it. Just keep going with the podcast.
I appreciate that.
I want to bring you some people too. Like when I get a chance to think about who.
If you can send me, I'm always trying to reach out, because it's just your network, and I'm lucky that I've attained a lot of interesting people over the course of my life.
Yep.
But I'm always looking for more.
Yep.
And where can people find you?
On Instagram, Sauceman36 is what I go by, my producer name, Sauceman_36. So just on Instagram, that's about it.
And this,
otherwise I don't want to be found.
Yeah. All right. You get to work behind the scenes. That's always that's a pretty, I've always respected that with writers. Like sometimes like in comedy, if you're not the guy out on stage, you're a writer, which is just as good, just as amazing, because you get to sit back on, you're writing for Conan O'Brien or
and you get that industry respect. That's what I love is the industry respect, like the respect from your peers that are in the same field as you. You know, I don't care for so much of the fame from, you know, people that aren't in the industry, but that industry respect, I love that.
Yeah, because a lot of times that random stuff is people being fickle. You know, they like you until for some you say something or you make something new that they're not used to, or a part of your character comes out and you're not this perfect painting that they had in their mind, and they go, well, fuck you. Oh, you don't agree with me on this, that, and the third. Suddenly I don't like you. And it's like, well, can you respect my work? No, well, you're not in my field, so you're not going to respect my work. There's people I don't like who I respect in comedy, who I go, that's a good fucking comedian, even if I don't like them, or I don't get their shit, but I go, I respect how good it is. It's just not for me.
Yep.
I'll ask you one more thing before I let you go. But what's as someone we're both sober, as someone who's been through, you know, dealing with loneliness, with abuse issues, what are your recommendations as somebody who's come to where you have been through community for someone younger who's dealing with that? Like if you're 20 years old and you feel kind of lost in your using.
Well, you got to be ready to change. You got to want to change.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that takes a lot of beating your head on the wall, you know, taking a lot of you ain't going to change until you're getting tased in the face and twisting cops nuts and facing 5 years in prison. You know, that's how it was for me. Like, and you just gotta want to change. But for those people that are in that moment of wanting to change, ask God to intervene. You don't believe in God, ask God to show you if He's real, and He's going to show you. He's going to show you.
God has worked for me in mysterious ways, and I like that phrase, mysterious. But sometimes it's almost ludicrous. Like for you, it was like, God, give me a sign, and your sign was a taser in the face and some nuts in your fucking hand. And sometimes that's what it is. And I try and tell people, he'll come to you in whatever form is available. So sometimes people want this majestic, amazing, like moment. Sometimes it's just you're laying on a floor and you shit your pants because you've been high for 12 hours, and you go, oh, I get it.
But in that moment, God knows for you, it is going to be profound, you know? So it is even if it's a small moment, He knows for you in that moment, you're going to perceive it. He knows, He's all knowing. He knows how you're going to perceive it.
Yeah.
You know?
The most profound messages I've got have always been like at points of severe degeneracy. So or full or extreme desperation. Those are the two. Shit. Well, all right, dude. Thanks for coming on. This was fantastic. I had a lot of fun.
Mike, thank you so much, brother.
All right. Thanks, Danny.